still, obviously, there's big difference. Where would you see those differences?
Well, I think it's impressive that there's an organization in a city, especially in another African city, that's dealing with culture and urban interventions, first off. And it's also interesting that that's being taken forward in a sustained way over a period of time, in the way that Douala has done. So for me, in Cape Town, where we're trying to think about reimagining our city, it's lovely to see in Cameroon that Douala is playing that sort of role, playing a interventionist role in terms of helping people to think and reimagine the city. I also think that even if we did manage to get something together that was looking at reimagining the city as a gallery or an artistic project, it would definitely be failing when it came to the urban development or urban intervention role, which I think has been very useful for me to see here. I think compared to how I've been thinking, or we've been thinking about it, often the part about community development or the group development, this idea that you involve the community as a development grouping that exists over a period of time, seems to me the reason why Douala has been very successful in some of its neighborhood projects. I think for me that's been a very interesting learning. On the other side, I think also from Cape Town's side, we're very fortunate. I always think we're not fortunate, but actually when you look at Cameroon, I realize we are fortunate that we have a lot more resources and a lot more artists working in a type of way that allows us to interrogate ideas of urban intervention and culture. So there's just a lot of material we have to draw on. We have funds to do things at a higher level, perhaps. One thing I have noticed here is not many photographers apparent. There may be, I haven't really had enough of a period here, but I haven't seen I haven't heard that there's much. So that's been quite interesting, because I think photography is a very important part in imagining cities or representing cities in different ways. And it's sad that that's not being worked on, but maybe that's an opportunity. I think we also have a wider range of people, and we have a complex history, and we've worked with that complex history in very interesting ways. We have a political freedom to do that now, so that allows us a great deal of flexibility. I see Douala probably has a lot of opportunities to engage in that, but probably the extent it can go is limited politically. So it's good to see the arch project that they're doing around history, and we don't even have projects like that in Cape Town, I mean, I'd love to see something like this in Cape Town, but it's good to see that there are parallels and ways to learn from each other, even though we're at different points of monetary levels of monetary strong funding bases, let's say it that way, between the two countries in terms of developing cultural practice. And it's wonderful to see in Douala that Douala has done so much in such a complex and difficult area in which to function in terms of finances and culture.
Douala has concentrated a whole part of its work through those quartiers populaires that have quite harsh living conditions, and are there comparable projects in South Africa too?
Well, Sue Williamson's worked with a group of people on Mandlovo, and then recently people from Holland came over with Cascoland and did a similar sort of project in the neighborhood. And there are some communities that are organized and are trying to do various things about their history, maybe not a very an artistic way, if you want to put it that way. People are sort of dealing with their family histories or biographies about their key role models in their communities, because we have a lot of crime in our areas. So but we also have a rich tradition of cultural activism or political activism. So a lot of areas that are economically marginalized have got certain heroes who are now either in government or in senior positions somewhere as a result of the political change. But there aren't many organizations I know of. There are some that are trying to connect a sort of urban development and cultural approach. If they do it on a very sort of small scale. It's not about thinking about urban space in the same way as Douala has tried to engage its populations here. I'm not yet convinced that the population here understands what it's doing, but that's not. I'm still at a very early stage of trying to understand that. But it's good to see that it's able to happen, that people are able to push some other way of imagining places. For example, the fountain, Besenge is an interesting structure in terms of a meeting place, which is different from maybe how another architect would have seen it in a utilitarian way. So I think there's interesting things to gain from looking at how it engages with these neighborhoods. And in South Africa, I think there's quite a lot to learn about how people are engaging with role models and that sort of the history of place. But what's interesting is that in South Africa, the type of big things, or Cape Town particularly, the type of big things that happen usually happen in the city center, which is more moneyed in the case of Cape Town. And there isn't the same sort of center here, but it's good to see that things are decentralized.